I have another story for you tonight, dear traveler, and I am glad the harbor lights have guided you here once again. Tonight, I would like to tell you a story called The Conservatory Curator and the Quiet Sparrow. In the first pale light before morning, glass walls shimmered with tiny beads of dew, and long green leaves caught the soft glow of lanterns that had not yet gone out. A single sparrow rested upon the curved handle of a small watering can while, nearby, the conservatory's gentle caretaker unlocked the old wooden door with the same peaceful motion he had made every day for many years. Come with me for a little while. There is no hurry here. The tide beyond Dream Harbor is calm tonight, and every quiet place is waiting to be remembered. The conservatory stood where no maps ever thought to look. It rested between gentle hills wrapped in moss, where morning clouds lingered longer than anywhere else, and evening seemed reluctant to leave. It was neither hidden nor advertised. Those who needed it simply found themselves walking toward it one quiet afternoon, often without realizing why. Its great windows curved upward like petals opening to the sky. Inside, every leaf seemed to breathe slowly. The air carried the faint fragrance of earth after rain, warm cedar shelves, flowering vines, and fresh water trickling through smooth stones. Nothing inside the conservatory ever demanded attention. Everything invited it. The curator's name mattered very little. Visitors rarely asked for it. Most simply called him the keeper. He never corrected them. His work was wonderfully ordinary. Each morning he opened every window just enough for birdsong to drift inside. He checked every clay pot for moisture. He trimmed faded blossoms with careful hands. He polished the brass labels beneath unusual plants until each reflected tiny pieces of sunlight. He turned small wooden benches toward whichever flowers happened to be blooming that week. He believed people rested more deeply when they could sit facing something quietly alive. The sparrow watched all of this from nearby. It was a small bird with warm brown feathers and bright eyes that noticed details others overlooked. It arrived one spring morning many years earlier. No one knew where it had come from. No one wondered for very long. Some companions simply belonged. From then onward it accompanied the keeper through nearly every day. Not beside him exactly. Sometimes above him. Sometimes ahead. Sometimes quietly waiting where it somehow knew he would soon arrive. It never interrupted. It merely shared the silence. There were many remarkable plants inside the conservatory. Tall ferns whose leaves curled like sleeping waves. White blossoms that opened only while morning mist lingered. Tiny moss gardens growing between smooth river stones. Old citrus trees whose fragrance drifted gently through warm afternoons. Climbing vines that slowly crossed wooden beams over many peaceful seasons. None of them hurried. Each understood its own rhythm. The keeper often thought that people might become happier if they remembered they, too, possessed their own seasons. Not every day needed to bloom. Some days existed only for quiet roots. Travelers occasionally found the conservatory. Some stayed only a few minutes. Others remained until evening. There was no entrance fee. No sign requesting silence. People lowered their voices naturally after stepping inside. It seemed almost impossible not to. Parents carried sleeping children through shaded pathways. Artists rested sketchbooks upon their knees. Readers forgot to turn pages because they were listening to leaves moving overhead. Older visitors closed their eyes while sunlight shifted across their faces. No one ever left in exactly the same mood they had arrived. Not because anything extraordinary happened, because almost nothing did. And sometimes, almost nothing is exactly what a weary heart has been searching for. The keeper noticed very small things. He noticed when ivy preferred climbing one beam rather than another. He noticed how afternoon sunlight lingered longest upon the eastern orchids during autumn. He noticed when bees chose one blossom over another. He noticed when visitors smiled without realizing they had smiled. These observations never became lists. He carried them gently, like pebbles collected during peaceful walks. The sparrow collected different treasures: tiny feathers, seeds, interesting twigs, occasionally a bright blue flower petal. Once it carried a ribbon someone had unknowingly dropped. It placed every discovery upon the same windowsill near the keeper's workbench. The keeper never removed them. Instead, he arranged each new offering beside the others until the windowsill became a small museum of quiet gifts. Every conservatory has sounds. This one possessed many. Rain tapping softly against curved glass. Water flowing through narrow channels beneath stepping stones. The whisper of leaves brushing together. Clay pots settling as warmth changed throughout the day. Wing beats, distant wind, pages turning, gentle footsteps, sometimes laughter, always brief, always kind. The keeper believed every place developed its own music. This conservatory preferred melodies that never competed with silence. When evening arrived, golden light filled the highest branches first, then slowly drifted downward. The leaves glowed. Flowers seemed almost translucent. Dust floated like tiny stars. Visitors gathered belongings quietly. The keeper wished each person peaceful travels. The sparrow escorted them to the gate, hopping from stone to stone as though offering its own farewell. Then the conservatory rested. Night transformed it without changing it. Moonlight entered where sunlight had departed. The pools reflected constellations. Night-blooming flowers unfolded their pale petals. Moths replaced butterflies. Owls called from distant trees. The keeper carried one lantern through winding paths, checking nothing in particular. Simply visiting, simply being present. He often paused beneath the tallest fig tree. The sparrow slept overhead, tucked safely among broad leaves. "I'll see you in the morning," he whispered. The bird never answered. It never needed to. Morning always arrived. There were years when blossoms grew especially abundant. There were quieter years when plants rested. The keeper welcomed both. He never measured success by how many flowers appeared. He measured it by how peaceful the conservatory felt. Some mornings that peace rested inside one unopened fern. Other mornings it lingered within the scent of wet soil. It was enough. Children loved one particular corner. There, tiny pathways wound through miniature forests no taller than their knees. Small bridges crossed streams only a few inches wide. Moss became rolling hills. Pebbles became mountains. The keeper watched children kneel beside these tiny landscapes with complete attention. Adults often smiled at the sight. The sparrow liked those miniature forests too. It landed upon little bridges that bent only slightly beneath its weight. For a bird, perhaps they seemed perfectly ordinary. The keeper wondered about that. Perspective, he believed, changed many things. The largest tree might feel like shelter, or home, or simply another branch, depending upon who arrived beneath it. Sometimes rain visited for several gentle days. Visitors still came. The sound upon the glass roof made conversation slower. Tea tasted warmer. Books felt heavier in comforting ways. Plants lifted grateful leaves toward the softened light. The keeper enjoyed rainy mornings. The sparrow seemed equally pleased. It shook tiny droplets from its feathers before hopping onto the workbench to observe freshly opened seed packets. There existed one room almost everyone overlooked. Not because it was hidden, because it was quiet in a different way. Its windows faced a grove of old cedar trees. Only green plants lived there. No flowers, no bright colors. Just countless shades of leaf and moss. People who wandered inside often remained longer than expected. Without blossoms asking to be admired, they noticed texture instead. Shapes, breathing, stillness. The keeper called it the room of rest. Only to himself. He never placed a sign upon its door. Names were less important than experiences. One afternoon, an elderly traveler arrived carrying a notebook filled with empty pages. He walked slowly through every pathway. He sat beneath every tree. He listened to every fountain. As evening approached, he opened the notebook. Instead of writing words, he drew tiny leaves. One leaf for each peaceful place he had visited. The keeper smiled. There are many ways to remember calm. The sparrow landed upon the notebook before it closed. It left behind one feather. The traveler laughed softly. When he departed, the feather remained tucked safely between two pages. Years later, perhaps he would find it again. And remember, the conservatory changed without announcing its changes. A vine slowly reached another beam. A sapling became a tree. Stone paths grew smoother beneath gentle footsteps. Bird nests appeared among climbing roses. The keeper welcomed every quiet transformation. Nothing remained exactly the same. Nothing needed to. Stewardship, he believed, was not preserving yesterday forever. It was helping tomorrow arrive gently. That thought accompanied him often, especially while repotting young trees, especially while gathering fallen leaves, especially while sweeping pathways before sunrise. The sparrow accompanied him too, sometimes flying ahead, sometimes waiting patiently beside the wheelbarrow, sometimes simply watching clouds. No day required explanation. The seasons came and went without fanfare. Spring carried blossoms. Summer carried fragrance. Autumn carried golden light. Winter carried peaceful branches resting against pale skies. Every season belonged. Every season contributed. The keeper loved them equally. He noticed visitors often preferred one over another. Some returned only when roses bloomed. Others waited for autumn leaves. Children adored butterflies. Photographers searched for morning mist. Readers favored rainy afternoons. The sparrow seemed pleased by every season. Perhaps birds understand acceptance more naturally than people. Perhaps they simply greet each day before deciding what it ought to become. The keeper considered this while filling watering cans. It seemed wise advice. Morning after morning, year after year, his routines became gentle rituals. Unlock the door. Open the windows. Listen. Water. Observe. Pause. Smile. Welcome. These small acts stitched peaceful days together until they formed an entire life. He never wished for grand adventures. The conservatory contained enough wonder already. A fern unfurling, a butterfly resting, fresh leaves after rainfall, sunlight through glass, birdsong at dawn. What more? He sometimes wondered kindly, could anyone truly need? The answer never arrived. It drifted away like pollen. That seemed appropriate. Questions need not always become answers. Some simply become companions. As years passed, more birds visited. Finches, robins, doves, occasionally a curious owl at dusk. Yet the sparrow always returned to the keeper's shoulder rail, workbench, or watering can. Its familiar presence became another quiet part of the conservatory. Visitors smiled when they noticed it. Children whispered greetings. The bird acknowledged everyone equally, with calm attention, nothing more, nothing less. One evening the keeper lingered longer than usual. The lantern glowed softly beside him while moonlight silvered every leaf. The conservatory seemed to breathe. Glass reflected stars. Water reflected glass. Leaves reflected moonlight. Everything borrowed gentle light from something else. He liked that thought. Perhaps kindness worked similarly, passed from one heart to another, never diminished, only shared. The sparrow settled upon the lantern handle. Together they watched the quiet hours unfold. No one spoke. No one needed to. Silence had become an old friend. Eventually the keeper closed the final window. He turned the lantern toward home. Behind him the conservatory rested peacefully beneath the stars. Ahead lay another morning already waiting patiently beyond sleep. And so the days continued, not repeating, simply echoing one another with comforting familiarity. Visitors arrived. Plants grew. Birds sang. Rain visited. Sunlight wandered. The keeper cared. The sparrow remained nearby. Somewhere beyond hills and rivers, travelers forgot exactly why they felt lighter after leaving. They remembered only that they had. Perhaps they carried home a slower breath. Perhaps the memory of leaves moving gently overhead. Perhaps the sound of water flowing quietly between stones. Or perhaps only the feeling that somewhere, a peaceful place continued existing whether or not they could see it. That alone can be wonderfully comforting. Eventually, every quiet story grows lighter. Like evening mist, like drifting seeds, like feathers carried by patient wind. The conservatory softened into memory. The glass reflected more sky than walls. The pathways became gentle suggestions beneath moss. The keeper moved slowly beneath branches that seemed to know him well. The sparrow rested where it always had, upon the old watering can, watching another calm morning begin. Nothing asked to be remembered exactly, only gently, only warmly. The leaves still turned toward light. Water still found every root. Birdsong still greeted dawn. The keeper still opened each door with grateful hands. The sparrow still gathered tiny treasures. And somewhere, someone arriving unexpectedly discovered a peaceful bench waiting beneath quiet branches. Perhaps it was enough simply to sit. Perhaps it always had been. The sounds became softer. A breeze, a leaf, a drop of water, a feather settling, breathing. The spaces between moments widened. Nothing hurried. Nothing called for attention. Nothing reached beyond what already was. Only quiet. Only gentle care. Only the comforting knowledge that somewhere, someone was still tending a peaceful place with patient hands. Now the conservatory begins to drift, as all gentle stories eventually do. The glass catches one final ribbon of moonlight. The lantern beside the path glows warmly. The little sparrow closes its eyes beneath familiar leaves. The keeper pauses for one last look before quietly turning toward home. And together we find ourselves once more beside the timeless waters of Dream Harbor. The harbor lights are waiting, just as they always are. The tide moves softly against the shore. I remain here, where waking and dreaming meet, ready to welcome every traveler who finds these quiet docks. Whether you remember the conservatory tomorrow or not does not matter. Dream Harbor will remember that you rested here tonight. So let your thoughts become as light as feathers. Let them settle gently. Let them find their own peaceful branches. The harbor is calm. The lantern is warm. The night is kind. And sleep, dear traveler, is already drawing near. Good night. I will be here when the harbor lights welcome you home again.